Look at this thing. I'm not even kidding. Actually, look at this thing. This here is an old barn. It's about, I'd like to say 20 feet tall at the peak there, 12 foot tall at the 12 or 14 up at the edge of the roof. It's 30 foot wide, 50 foot long. This was an old horse barn, and then it was a feed store for a couple of years. But most importantly, now it's mine. This barn was built in the 40s. Specifically, it was built in 1943. October 27th. It's got a crappy old concrete foundation. It's got broken windows and rotten wall studs and a saggy roof. But it's a barn. For 80 years old, it's still structurally sound. I've been pulling the rotten siding off to inspect the studs and to replace it with new wall sheathing. That foundation isn't the best. And someone might wonder, why would I want to do this? Why would I be wasting any time on a rotten old barn? Well, because if I want to build some dry storage or a somewhat usable shop this size, it's going to cost me at least 200 grand. But I can make this into a usable building for probably under 20 grand. And I won't have to have any permits because all I'm doing is repairs to a pre-existing building. It's been home to pigeons for quite some time, but I chased them out and plasticed off all the windows. It's full of garbage, but a couple dump runs will have that cleaned up in no time. This is 2 levels, but it's unnecessary. I'm gonna take up that upper level because I need, of course, at least a 12 foot, preferably 14 foot ceiling to get trucks and stuff in and out and to be able to pull engines and cabs inside. This concrete isn't very nice, but whatever. Lucky for me, I do have that date stamp right inside the door right there. But if you want to know about what age it is, you can tell it's early 1900s by the fact it's got horizontal boards and this stud spacing. This is all 48-inch on center, which if it was newer, it would be minimum 24-inch on center wall studs. But the 1800s, they had vertical wall paneling, vertical sheathing, and they did horizontal in the 1900s. This is all rough cut 2x6 wall studs, and you can see that that one's damaged, but I can just sister those up to repair that. But honestly, it's not really very rotten. It's been able to be kept pretty dry inside. There's lots of evidence of mice living in there, all this crap, but it's repairable. I got a lot to clean out of here, and definitely will need a new roof. But it is still better than nothing, and I think within a couple months I'll be able to have it as a usable temporary shop. It'll be great dry storage when I have my shop built. A great indicator when wood is still solid is, for one, you can just tell and see it's solid, but when nails don't pull out readily and everything's still nice tight fit, it's a great indicator that the wood is not rotten, which is what you want to see, especially along this bed plate here, because that's where it's going to get the most moisture coming up through the cement. Now, this isn't brand new wood, but it's still structurally sound enough that it'll hold for another while, especially if we can treat it and keep it dry. This barn was not insulated, but it was layered with this tar paper with a layer of cardboard on the inside, and there was a layer on the outside too, so this was just dead airspace in between, but it went cardboard, tar paper, cardboard, tar paper. So I'm assuming this is just to keep the drafts down, and you know, some semi-insulated draft-free airspace is better than nothing at keeping it warm, or at least keeping the wind out, because the wind gets pretty bad here in the winters. I've taken like 10 garbage cans full of this to the dump already. I didn't want to get too far ahead of myself with pulling the siding off of this because, for one, I do not know how structurally sound this is and whether I'm going to just tear it down or burn it down or something. But also because, see, we do have some diagonal supports there, but the wall paneling actually acts as the structure, keeping this all from folding over. So I'm going to pull off the siding in a area and then sheathe it all with plywood and then move around. I'm not going to strip it all and leave it stripped. Otherwise, there's a pretty likely chance a breeze will come along and collapse the whole building. I did it again. I spent too much money and bought another Milwaukee tool, a framing nailer, 3.5 inch, 30 degrees. I needed one of these, but boy, every time I buy one of these tools, I'm always afraid about the amount of money I'm about to spend, because they sure aren't cheap. But then once I buy them, I wonder why I didn't buy them sooner, because of how much easier they make my life. A whole lot quicker than hammer. Here you can see this wall stud has shifted in. Now, I would try and lift this and pull it in, but who knows how long it's been like that. That might have happened when they originally built it, but these wall panels are pretty well straight. So I'm probably just gonna sister a stud up here, and then I'll go and chop out what's left afterwards when I pull the interior paneling off. The walls aren't as straight as they could be, but neither is our country anymore. So I hammered a nail into that stud. I'm using the pry bar to lift up on the wall boards and the nail to pry, and I'm actually managing to pull that wall stud back out. About an automatic nailer is you run through nails a whole lot faster than you do with a bag and a hammer. Now, I am not a framer. I will not claim to be. I weld and I'm a mechanic. I'd rather build myself a building out of steel. But anyways, any of you framers out there with an opinion, I'd love to hear it. What would you do in this situation? Tear it down? Replace it? Replace each stud but one by one? Sister the broken ones like what I'm doing? What would you do? How would you do it? I would love some input. I definitely have a long ways to go to be done sheeting it. I'm gonna have to pick up about 80 sheets more. But once I got everything resheeted, all the old rotten wood ripped off, I'll wrap the exterior in house wrap, Tyvek or something. So then at least I can keep the weather out for the winter. And then once everything's done, I'll probably pull this old paneling off the inside, insulate it with probably R20 or something, and sheathe the inside of the walls, either with plywood or with drywall. Then come spring, when I'm ready to spend a bunch of money on it, I'll sheet the outside with corrugated steel and do the roof too. I just can't imagine all the possibilities that I can do with this shop once it's done, or at least if I build one similar size and this is just storage, but I've just never had something even close to this size. It will be a game changer. Very much done, but that's enough for today.